French, we have an expression, and it goes like this: se prendre la tête. Oops. Thank you. Se prendre la tête looks like this. My friend Barry, who's sitting over there. And in literal translation, it means to take one's head. But, wowee. But figuratively, it means to pull your hair out. And we do this a lot. Things get complicated and we pull our hair out. So, se prendre la tête in opposition to this, which is pure joy. And that's my little boy when he was a year and a half old. He's also in the audience. We won't embarrass him because of the pink diaper here. But this is pure joy. You can see the joy in his toes. You can see chocolate. Oh, all I have to do is say chocolate. It's God speaking to me. Yes, chocolate, which is usually a good help towards joy. You can see, look at that. I mean, if that's not joy, right? So I want to talk today about the contrast between se prendre la tête and pulling one's hair out and joy. About 12 years ago, 13 years ago, my marriage ended, and I felt as though I was toxic. I felt as though everything I touched died or withered. I couldn't do anything right. Even my oldest son said, "Mom, you make everybody sad." There wasn't a whole lot of joy going on there. And I would come home, and if a plant looked like that, I thought it's because I've walked by it too many times. It just was not a good time. But my oldest son's 6th birthday was coming up, and I had made him a cake. And the first year that he and his mom and his dad weren't going to be together for his birthday, and it felt quite heavy. So his little brother, his sister, and their 2 best friends were there in the house. I had made a cake, and they were waiting for me to serve the cake. As we were playing, I turned to the fridge, opened it, put my hands under the cake, and because I was probably toxic at the time, I flipped the cake, and the whole cake landed face first onto the floor at my feet. And at that moment, the house got quite silent, and I could feel 10 eyes in the back of my head. And all I wanted to do was grab the bowl of frosting, a spoon, go back to bed, put the covers over my head, and stay there for a week. But I could feel those eyes behind me, so I turned around, and sure enough, they were looking at me. 5 little kids. And I could almost see like a subtext, like a subtitle underneath their little faces that said something like, "Now what?" I could tell that they were wanting me to tell them, what is this moment colored of? Is this moment about apology? Saying, "You guys, I'm so sorry. I can't do anything right, and this is terrible." Or is this moment colored, let's settle, let's go to Safeway and get a cake and forget about the whole thing? Or is it called, we'll do better next year, but let's just not have a cake this year? And something about the way they were looking at me, I also felt that I had a very short window in which to answer the question. And some old memory of joy came through me and came over me, and I looked at the kids and I said, "Guess what, you guys? This year we eat the cake on the floor." I know, right? And they didn't look happy. They looked terrified, as if they had known for a month that I was going to snap. And this was the time had come. But finally, my son Marco's best friend, Austin, got a burst of joy came through him, and he screamed like a banshee and went, "Wee-hoo!" And he ran down to the kitchen, slid on his knees at my feet, and the other 4 kids followed him, and they all landed at my feet. And somehow their joy went up through me, and I thought, "Oh, we're going to do this big." And I said, "Hands behind your back, you guys. Eat this cake with your faces." And, there might or might not have been dog hairs on the floor. But nobody said joy was super hygienic. So so here are these kids eating cake with their faces. And we're all leaders. Maybe you're a leader in your company. Maybe you have a team who looks up to you to decide, now what? What are we going to call this moment? Or maybe you have kids, or maybe you have a dog. I mean, we're all leaders. And if you don't have kids and you don't have a team and you don't have a dog, you're still the leader of the most important team there is, a team that's always looking to you to decide, now what? What color are we going to name this event? And that team is your thoughts. And you can't fire that team. It's always there, and it's always looking for, what is this about? Is this about joy, or is this about se prendre la tête? April of last year, I was sent a photo on Facebook, and because I have the Center for Happiness, I get sent all kinds of goofy, wonderful stuff. And this was a picture of people dressed in orange jumpsuits, kind of clown-like, and they were holding signs that said, life is good, and you're beautiful, and it started a dialogue on that Facebook page, a thread, where people were saying, oh, we should do that. Oh, this is so cool. And I thought, well, maybe we should do that. That is kind of cool, right? And it was before the election, April before the election. And in Anacortes, there is a corner, for those of you who are familiar with Anacortes, 12th and Commercial, fairly heated corner before the elections, where people stand with boom boxes, and it has a lot of energy. And I thought, that would be fun to do this at that corner and to kind of shift the energy around. So within that Facebook thread, I said, if you could stand at that corner and hold a sign, what would you like your sign to say? And bam, 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 people sent me their messages. It was, you are loved, and it's going to get better, and it's going to be all right, and tell them you love them, and just a list. And I thought, okay, we're going to do this. So I set a date, and pretty soon we had an event. It became an official event. And when you have an official event, the grown-up thing to do is to start to prendre la tête, make it really complicated. So I was thinking, okay, well, for sure we need a committee. And then since everybody's going to wear yellow shirts, we better take everybody's sizes. And we have to have a fundraiser to make sure we get the sizes, the shirts. And then we should have meetings. And then we should have rehearsals, because, holding signs takes rehearsals. And then I went, who the heck is that? Who's talking? I was so busy. I thought, there's no way this is going to happen this way. We're just going to go with the joy of it. And I asked a local printer if he would please print the signs for us, sponsor us. He said, absolutely. I copied and pasted those messages straight from Facebook, sent them to the printer, and I said, okay, let's meet at this park 15 minutes before the time we're going to do this event. Everybody wear bright yellow, and we'll have a great time. And so this is the day of the event. We're all kind of giddy and crazy and high on the joy of what we're about to do. See, all the signs are printed, and they're beautiful, and everybody's wearing yellow. I didn't even have to have one meeting about it. And we walked our signs across town with an umbrella. We walked into the bank, and I wouldn't recommend that. They didn't like that at all. And so we walked across town, and we stood there for an hour, and we had a blast. It was just so much fun. We took 4 corners, and it was great. And this is all of us gathered and with our signs, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And I called it a happiness sprinkling, because sprinkles, they're fun, they're light, they're goofy, and they're colorful. And then I put the signs away and thought I would never use them again. And then the summer passed and the fall came, and a friend of mine called me and said, hey, I'm going to an event in Seattle called Parking Day. Would you like to come? It's an event where you put money in the meter, and then you own the parking lot for the day, and you can do whatever the heck you want there. So we were going to do a hospitality station. We were going to bring peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and battleship. And before I headed down, I thought I should grab these old signs, and we can decorate the booth with them, the parking lot. So I grabbed the signs. And we had the day, and it was great. And then I asked people who were with me, do you want to stand on the corner? It's Ballard, rush hour. What a great time to do this. Who wants to stand on the corner and hold these signs with me? And so we did. And holy smokes, within 5 minutes, it was incredible. People were honking, and they were waving and coming and joining us. This one lady asked if she could hold a sign that said it's going to be all right, and I gave her my sign. And when I checked on her, she was holding that sign straight in front of her, tears running down her face. And the next day, I thought, there is something to this. This is a big deal, and this is so simple, but it is so powerful, and I want to do more of this. And of course, the first thought was to, prendre la tête and make it super complicated. But because in the DNA of the project, what was now becoming a project, was the simplicity and the joy, we managed to make it super simple. So the way it works is a set of sign is shipped from happiness ambassador to happiness ambassador. The people who are the happiness ambassador gather their teams. They ask them to show up for an hour wearing bright yellow shirts, and they stand there at the corner of their busy intersection. They sprinkle happiness for just an hour. And because this was so infused with joy from the DNA, from at its base, it has created joy-based leaders. We have all these happiness ambassadors here. Today, these are the people who have done this. And they are incredible. These people, I don't know how they're amazing. They've gotten us grants. We were on CBS News 3 days ago. I haven't done any of this stuff. I just trust them to be happiness ambassadors. And meanwhile, they're weaving this. They know each other. They go to each other's events. It's just an amazing sort of energy that's being brought just from the joy of it. It's focused joy. It's work. I'm not saying it's not work, but it is so much fun. And at all levels, it's joyful. I don't think, through the many events we've held, I don't think anybody's stressed probably even one time. These are several of the events you can see here. We have Washington, D.C., we have Chicago, we have Abbotsford, we have Seattle, we have Portland. We've had just many events. This is from our happiness ambassadors in Chicago that says, day after day, we hear nothing but shootings and more shootings. Someone was shot during school hours right in front of a school that I support in my work. Many people have asked us to sprinkle more happiness in Chicago. And so, we're not stopping the shootings. But when teenagers do this, something magical happens. And you don't know what's going to happen when somebody drives home and they see something that says it's going to be okay. That probably answers something that was in their mind. And I'd like to think changes the course of their day, which changes the course of somebody else's day. So doing this project, I've learned 5 things. The first thing is, if you're going to do something, make sure there's joy in it. Even if it's just the joy of your paycheck, make sure you really feel the joy in that paycheck. The second thing is, don't get bogged down in the details. You messed up, get back up and do it again. It took us 3 cities to find out we misspelled that sign. And, I copied and pasted from Facebook. I don't know, it's not even my language. I just did it. And it So, but what do? Do you recall? Do you apologize? No, you just say, well, it's not like somebody's going to drive by and go, oh, it's misspelled. Maybe it's not going to be all right after all, So you just go with it. Just keep going, and then next printing, just print it right. The third thing is trust your team to put their own spin on whatever joy means to them. This is Bella the pug. I never thought to bring my dog to a sprinkling, but Victoria in Olympia thought that her dog would make a good addition to that day. So trust your team. Once they understand the project, trust them to deliver their own form of the essence of joy, because it's theirs. You've given it to them. Now trust them. The next thing is we say yes a lot. This is Albert in Portland. So when Phoenicia emailed and said, we want to do more sprinklings in Chicago, this is a place where it's really needed, they're doing it in South Chicago, the first thing we said is yes, absolutely. And then we went about figuring out how the heck we're going to do this, because that means one set has to stay in one city for 6 months. She wants to do a sprinkling a month for 6 months. So anyway, she is. And we figured it out, but the first thing is we said yes. The last thing is, don't own it. You don't own joy. I can't trademark joy. I don't have a patent on it. And when you come up with something that really lights people up, you don't have to hold on to it and make sure nobody else does it and that it's all yours. You will see here, this is a clip from a video we found on YouTube by accident. These people are totally doing our event. They have our signs. They even calling it happiness sprinkling, and the video is wonderful. They're all dancing, and it's just really great. But they never contacted us. They never, they did it all on their own. They just got inspired like we got inspired at the beginning. So, once you find something really joyful, let it go and hope that it makes a bunch of joyful babies out there. You don't have to own it. And it turns out they spell much better than we do. So that was pretty wonderful. So today I want to leave you with a challenge, and the challenge is, as you go through your days, you're going to be given many opportunities to se prendre la tête and make things complicated, and maybe because it's more grown up that way, or maybe you're used to it. My challenge to you is go for joy. It's going to affect your life in an immense way, but more importantly, it's going to affect the lives of the people around you. Joy ripples and ripples and ripples, and once you start doing it, you won't stop. It will feel so good. You will just become someone who is full of joy. And this is our little baby 15 years later. Thank you.